Hi guys, welcome back. This is the fight against poverty. As you can see, I changed my format. I'm doing this through PowerPoint now. As you can see, I have artwork in the back, and I designed that. Just got a picture off Google of DNA, and then the eyes come from Apple on the Clips app. And yeah, I just designed that, and what it represents to me is, you know, our true nature, what's in our DNA. Can sometimes hurt us. Hence the tears. But this is episode 8, and this is what is poverty? That's what we're gonna focus on today. What is poverty in its details? So first, I'm gonna explain what it means to me, what I've observed my whole life. Poverty is something that's badly affected the human race. Since Europeans came over and took land, the repercussions of that has led to many people being in poverty. Um, and it's not just one race. It's more than one race. I feel like the poor European settlers came over here to start a new life, to 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 have better resources, to have freedom, real freedom, and that's what this country is supposed to stand for. But I feel like in the midst of all that, it set a lot of people behind. Um, slavery happened. Women didn't get the right to vote until like the 1920s, or probably earlier than that. But yeah, it's been a long way, and we still got a long way to go. Poverty still existing. Um, we gotta fight against it. So with that, I'm gonna begin. Still learning, still learning. So this is the next slide. Poverty. Poverty. The state of being extremely poor, or the state of being inferior in quality or insufficient in amount. So when we break down definitions, we want to look at, okay, what is the state of? What is the state of mean? And being extremely poor, we know what poor is, or we're going to find out what poor is in the next slide. But what is the state? The state of being. The state of being. We break it down the word poverty. So the state of being means the particular condition that someone or something is in at that specific time. So just look at these pictures. This is someone's situation at the particular time. So right there, we got a country based off looks. It looks like it's freedom, but when you see things like this, you ask yourself, where's the freedom? Where's the freedom in this? Long lines at a shelter or a welfare office. These are the things that this channel really wants to fight against. It shouldn't exist. People getting put out their house because they lost their job, and we're in a pandemic. People losing their jobs. People can't work because they're sick. They don't have paid sick leave. So, with that being said, it's just someone's situation at that particular time, and that's what we're going off of. Oh, they're in poverty because of their situation at that particular time. They could be waiting on a big settlement, or they could be waiting on anything, a business to start up, anything, and it could change within a day. So this is a situation on a day-to-day basis, just how people look at that certain time. So I mean, that's something to question. That's something really to question. And yeah, and my stance on it, like, it shouldn't be that way. This country should provide a lot more for people, the essential needs like a house, a car, food, water, and, just rights as a human being. People shouldn't have to sleep on benches. It should be some type of shelter, some type of housing. And you can't say it shouldn't because they're building new businesses every day. Why can't they build a shelter for homeless? And if it gets filled up, build another one. That's what they do anyway. They tear down land, so build more shelters for the homeless, or build more shelters for those who need it, who are homeless, just lost their job, got kicked out of the house, anything. So let's go on to the next slide. So what is poor? Lacking sufficient money to live at a standard considered comfortable or normal in a society. We're going to come back to that. Worse than is usual, expected, or desirable of a low or inferior standard or quality. Two sub-points, deficient or lacking in. And then used ironically to depreciate something belonging to or offered by oneself. We're going to come back to that one. Of a person considered to be deserving of pity or sympathy. So, pity or sympathy. Wow. So lacking sufficient money to live at a standard considered comfortable or normal in a society. What's normal? Having a house, having a car, having a job, having funds to invest. Normal. That's what's normal in a society. But the normal citizen doesn't have these things. So therefore, is it the people that's poor, or is it the country that's really poor? That's something to think about. Or is the society poor? That's something to think about. And then, worse than is usually expected, desire, or low or inferior standard of quality. So they're inferior. Why are they inferior? They're human beings. We're all on the same level at the end of the day. They can have more knowledge or more insight than a so-called normal person. So, deficient or lacking in. I want to talk about that. So, I want to get into science a little bit, the human anatomy. So, we as humans need sunlight, but yet we're inside all day, not getting a proper amount of sunlight. And I wish I could have added a slide in about this, but this really is not the topic. It's just something I'm saying. We require enough amount of sunlight, and if we don't get it in our diet, the vitamin D, we'll be vitamin D deficient. So therefore, we're deficient or lacking in sunlight. So we're technically poor. We're technically poor, everyone, because we're inside all day. We're inside all day. We're in houses all day. We don't spend more than 40 minutes outside. So, and then when it gets cold, we're definitely lacking in sunlight. If it's snowing in your environment, I'm in Chicago, near Chicago. If we're not outside in the cold because it's dangerous, you could die. So therefore, we're poor. That's something to think about too. And used ironically to appreciate something belonging to or offered by someone. Meaning something is poor. Like, I can give someone an orange and it be poor. Like, it's depreciated, even though it's an orange, normal homeless person would take it. But we're gonna go on to the next slide. I talked about what is poor, what I thought about poor. If you're gonna categorize it as that, deficient or lacking in, and this is from Google, and so are my other definitions. Deficient or lacking in, we're lacking in sunlight daily, so we're technically all poor. So we're going off looks, right? Technically, I'm looking at it. If we're just observing someone at that particular time, oh, you lacking in sunlight, so you poor, technically. If we going by the definition, on to the next slide. So what does poverty do to an environment? What does poverty do to an environment? Poverty often causes people to put relatively more pressure on the environment, which results in larger families due to high death rates and insecurity. Improper human waste disposal leading to unhealthy living conditions, more pressure on fragile land to meet their needs, overexploitation of natural resources. So I got this from this source, the relationship between poverty and the environment, Voices of Youth. You can go to that website, just type it in your search engine. And yeah, no one wants to walk around smelling human feces. No one wants to go around walking in and stepping in and accidentally walking in their urine. So it's like that puts pressure on the environment. That puts pressure on the environment. People get uncomfortable by it. People don't want to come to your environment. Even if you go downtown, most downtown restaurants don't have a bathroom for people to just go in. You have to be a customer. So with that being said, if someone doesn't have money down there, which some homeless people do live down there, they're not going to be able to even use the bathroom, an essential need. So that's what this society does. We kind of cast out those who are suffering and are in poverty, extreme poverty, and we ignore them. Like the fact that they got to go to the bathroom and they telling you no to turn around, and we all witnessed this. Even a few times myself, I went to public it's not even a public bathroom. It should be called that because it's a customer bathroom where they only let those who bought something or that they may know, or like I'm saying, it's all off looks. That's what the society is. So if they look like a bum, they're not gonna get the treatment a normal customer would, and that's not the proper way. Everyone should be welcome, and that's something this society should work on. I seen a video. A guy was dressed like a bum, but he had money, but the employee didn't know it, and she was telling him to get out if you're not gonna buy something. He pulled out hundreds of dollars of bills, and that right there showed me early, and I seen that early when I was a teenager. Like, this is a society based off looks, just looks alone, and it's sad. It's sad. Some people get treated like that. Something has to be done, and that's what this channel is basically against. So, on to the next slide. Also, impoverished communities unaware of the inherent harmful ways in which they use natural resources such as forest, wood, and soil are continuing the destructive cycle that spirals the environment further down. Air pollution is another way in which poverty contributes to environmental degradation. So when you see homeless people burning wood, and I got this from How Poverty Impacts the Environment, the Oregon project. When they burning wood, when they burning whatever, it's putting air pollution into the earth, and that's something we can easily avoid by just supporting them, uplifting them, instead of calling them drug addicts, just casting them out as something that they didn't really have a choice to be. This society kind of pushed them that way. You know what I'm saying? Because they were in a poverty-stricken environment already. And this is what is called a slum. What Martin Luther King would say, a slum. People were forced in slums. We used to be segregated, and people sometimes I believe they stayed there, and that was their home. They didn't really move out, and it continued to depreciate as time went on. So therefore, like, this is what was the repercussions of when the Europeans took the land, and time continued. They took from the Indians, and they used African Americans as slaves, and then made everyone a slave pretty much to the system, and these are the repercussions. it forced people into certain situations, and then now they're being judged off looks. They're being judged off looks. Oh, because they live in a slum, they're in poverty, or they're impoverished, or whatever. So that's something to look at as well. It's something really to look at and really to pay attention to. And that's why I'm going over what poverty is. I haven't done it yet, and I think this PowerPoint is a great way to show it. But I also think I'm gonna continue to do PowerPoints because I like how the information is bigger than my face. Because the information is important, more important than who I am. And what I mean, I stand for it, the information, but I feel like the information is more important than me just talking as a candid. It's more informational. So on to the next slide. And this is a poverty-stricken environment. You see the trash can with the trash on the floor. I've seen many environments like this on the south and west side of Chicago. And this is just not good for the environment. Animals, rats bring diseases, rats in your house, and now you got to move out the house. Or even if you're in poverty, low income, you can't move out the house because you can't afford it, or you got to wait. So something got to be done about that. And you wouldn't want if you had a house, you wouldn't want your trash cans to look like this because it'd be raccoons and other pests. Here you see a little boy playing basketball with a crate on nailed onto some wood probably, and that's how some kids are affected. They're not getting the proper tools to play outside, let alone it being dangerous. They're not even they're just playing with their imagination at this point, and that's good. It's good. You create something out of nothing, but it shouldn't be like that. You should have something to create something. So these are some pictures I pulled from Google, and yeah, we're gonna go to the next slide. And as you can see here, there are tents on this public. This is public. It's a place in California called Skid Row where it's nothing but tents on the block of homeless people. And California, I believe, had a problem with this. Businesses were complaining. I should have did a slide about that, added a slide in about that. But yeah, this is all facts. Like even in downtown Chicago, I've witnessed it. So there's really no need to pull up a slide. We all have seen it. Tents on sidewalks, tents under viaducts, under bridges, beds under bridges, things like that. Yeah, they may have a drug problem, but what are we doing to help them, to alleviate them from that drug problem? What are we really doing? And I think it's not enough. Some people, if they had their kids, they'll walk to the other side, completely avoiding them, which I kind of agree with. But at the same time, why not show your kids what could happen? Like, some people chose this route, some people didn't. I mean, that's how you got to explain it. That's how I would like to explain it. At some point in their life, like some people choose to live like this. Some people didn't have a choice. Some people don't even like to live like this, but they just ran out of options. Over here I have a picture of Solve the Water Crisis. We all heard of Flint, Michigan. That's a poverty-stricken environment because it doesn't have, it's depreciating the people without water, clean water. So there they have a crisis. Wherever this is, they had a crisis. Solve the water crisis. I put that up, and that's an example. So when and how did poverty start in America? I kind of went over this already. I got this from a deeper look into poverty in U.S. culture, USA. And I talked about the Europeans. They came over with their connections from Great Britain, and it was poverty there, so it was typical. So they kind of brought it over here. And I'm gonna read a little bit. European settlers imagined a balanced wilderness to tame in America and created disparity with the indigenous population. The Industrial Revolution of the mid-1800s followed patterns established by military organizations originally meant to serve the interests of kings and queens. Schools were built to serve agriculture and industrial enterprises. Today, these systems still resemble early efforts to create conforming labor pool. And, yeah, that's true. They definitely brought despair, and still haven't really fully healed from that. It's just a fact. And while the Declaration of Independence aspired for everyone to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the United States has accomplished the political changes necessary to realize equality. Slavery was not abolished until 1865. Black males achieved the right to vote only in 1870. Women the right to vote in 1920, like I mentioned earlier. And it took until 1964 to ban segregation. So that's a big gap. That's a big gap to come to a realization that, y'all, people took the wrong steps. That's a big realization and a big gap. In public places and employment discrimination based on race. At the present, the United States has one of the world's highest rates of incarceration. The culture of racism continues negatively influence who can move out of poverty. White males have approximately a 300-year head start in getting ahead financially. And yeah, that's true. They had a big jump. I always say we playing the catch-up game, and that's what we're trying to catch up to, because they really put a dream out there that's sometimes unattainable to everybody. And when you do that, people chase it and they fall, and then sometimes they give up. So like the big house, the picket fence, the fancy cars, the jewelry, everybody, it's not for everybody. So when you put that image out there, it's hard. It becomes hard. It becomes a false reality. And they chase that thinking they're going to have happiness. And then when they get it sometimes, they realize, oh, I'm not even happy. Because you've been so busy doing it. Now you have to obtain it. Then you're like, oh, wow, I got to attain all this. I can't lose none of this. And it becomes hard. And then you slip into poverty. Or you may look like a bum, but you're not a bum. That's just how you feel, Like, man, I ain't got no friends. I blocked all my friends off because I was trying to chase money. I was trying to do other things. But it's just a deeper look. Like it says, a deeper look into poverty in U.S. culture. And I can't see the other part, but you could just type that in. I'm pretty sure something will pop up. That was my source, though. I got it from the internet. We're going to go to the next slide. So what are some examples in our lifetime where we have seen our government lift people out of poverty? While Social Security continues to be the most important anti-poverty program in 2020, lifting 26.5 million people out of poverty. The first two rounds of stimulus checks lifted 11.7 million people out of poverty, and the expanded unemployment benefits lifted 5.5 million people out of poverty. New data confirms cash assistance helps lifts families from poverty. Center for the Study of Social Policy, and that's a .org. Most of my sources are .org. Yeah, this is something we all witnessed within the past 2 to 3 years. How the government can do it, and I feel like if they showing us that it's possible, why not make it make something permanent, recurring payments, the universal basic income? Have these incomes for people on unemployment so they won't fall behind. We need a safety net in this country. It's a fact. We need a safety net. Everybody needs a safety net, no matter what, for anything. But I'm gonna continue. But that's a good example. It's a good example of how to fight it. Um, Two of the nation's most effective anti-poverty tools, the Child Tax Credit (CTC) and Earned Income Tax Credit (ETC), lifted 7.5 Americans out of poverty in 2019. So the Child Tax Credit is a good tool, and I think it's really good, very helpful. But it ended in December of 2021. So, and they're working to expand it. And I feel that this isn't really a debate. It should be more action, like affirmative action taken towards it. Like, people need that to survive. Like, it lifted 7.5 million Americans out of poverty, or it was part of lifting 7.5 million. That's a lot of people. So, and to raise the minimum wage to 15 per hour by 2025, just 15, that's not good enough. In today's society, 15 is not good enough. I made 17, and that was enough. I mean, 15, the most I made on $15 an hour a year was $27,000. And I worked a lot of overtime. I worked hard. So, and I put great stress on my body. But it's possible, but that's only enough income to survive, living for a family of two. I believe. So that's something we gotta look at, something we gotta work toward. I feel like the minimum wage should be $20 to $25 an hour. Facts. $20 to $25 an hour. I don't know what the hold up is with that, but I got that from the top 12 solutions to cut poverty in the United States Center for American Progress. And this is the last slide. No man left behind. Abraham Lincoln. Leave nothing for tomorrow which can be done today. That's my message. Leave nothing for tomorrow which can be done today. This can end today. They can do a stimulus package today, and it could change everything, the whole trajectory. All they have to do is say recurring payments. That's one option. Put student loan benefit in the workplace, which helps you pay off your student loan faster, just like the 401k, but it's going towards your student loan. Things like that, creating jobs for the youth, picking up trash, things like that. They can do so much. And I don't think their minds really focused on it. They're focused on a lot of different things, and it becomes hard, especially with COVID now. But COVID is on a rise, and it's been clear that cash assistance has lifted families out of poverty. Why not go with the facts you have? You got to go with the facts you have, and maybe lift those who are down. We need each other. Together we are strong. Together we will win. And down here I have government should be a place where people can come together and no one gets left behind. And be an instrument of good. And that's what the government should be. That's honestly what the government should be. That's what it should be focused on. And yeah, that something should be done more. So that's my video about what is poverty and what are some of the cases the government has lifted us out of some people out of poverty. And yeah, so I had all the information. This is episode 8, the fight against poverty. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a blessed day.